Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq veteran 8888. Today we got another gun gripe episode for you, and we're going to be talking about the SHUSH Act. Shh. All right, so guys, the plot thickens. All right, that's the only thing that the plot thickens. This is going to be a book one day, I swear. Like this whole debacle about like the SAFE Act and the SHARE Act and the freaking HPA and then now the SHUSH and all this.
The SAFE Act is not one we want to talk about.
No, we don't want to talk about that. But the thing is,
get it out here right now.
All of this debauchery is just coming to a head, and it's really crazy. And so some pretty crazy things have transpired. Now, the whole SHUSH Act is very, very new. It's kind of in its infancy, and there's still some kind of analyzing that's going to need to be done with the language of the bill. It's a pretty short bill. It's only like 4 or 5 pages of stuff. It's not that
it's a lot
long.
It's a lot simpler than the HPA. But
right.
You know, a lot of you guys, some people were complaining that we were such big proponents of the HPA. But the HPA is what we had to remove suppressors from the registry. And
the language of the HPA, I think, is really a big reason for some of its setbacks.
Yeah, and like a little bit of an update on HPA, which is the Hearing Protection Act. And like I've said in previous videos, if you don't know about it, you've been living under a rock. Go and do your research. Follow the links in the description box below and read about it. But the HPA got added to a larger package called the SHARE Act, which was the, let me see, I can't remember. It's a big acronym. Let me see here.
I'm telling you, there's somebody that is responsible just for writing like these acronyms and stuff, and they probably have some like cushy, 7-figure salary,
Probably. It's like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I write acronyms for bills.
I write government's acronyms.
So the Sportsman's Heritage and Recreational Enhancement Act. Now, it encompasses a lot of things that are good for sportsmen, conservationists, shooters, hunters, the whole 9 yards. Okay, it's got a lot of other things in there that we're not going to talk about in this video because...
Well, the bottom line is they pulled it all together to get the FUDs to support it.
This is how small bills like the HPA get passed as part of a bigger package. Right. But it got added to this bill, and on the morning of the shooting recently in Alexandria at the ball field, Steve Scalise got injured, and he was one of the members of the committee that the hearing was scheduled for that morning to talk about the SHARE Act.
So, wasn't the shooter a Bernie Sanders supporter?
That's what Get
out your tinfoil hats, people.
there's some conspiracies out there about that are really, really fun to read about. But anyways, the hearing was canceled, okay, for right now, and it's been postponed. So it's kind of thrown a monkey wrench into the works as far as getting the SHARE Act kind of down the line and getting introduced into the House and the Senate to be voted upon. So the HPA, the big complaint that people had was that you still had to file a 4473 to purchase a suppressor. It's like, why should I have to do that? Because it's just a firearms accessory. It's just something I put on the end of the gun. It's just like a muzzle device. Muzzle devices aren't serialized.
It is.
And it is, but that's not the wording of the HPA. The HPA is what we had to work with. The SHUSH Act basically does everything that the HPA does, but it
gets rid of all the crap we don't want.
It brings suppressors or silencers back to the days of their introduction, okay? Back when you had the Maxims, you could just buy them over the counter. Just, all right, here's your money. Okay, here's my suppressor. Let me walk out here and buy. And I'm going to put on my gun and go shooting. Okay, there was no paperwork. There was none of this mess and rigmarole. And this is really what I like to see.
Yeah.
But now we have another option, and this is awesome.
Guys, there's never been a better time to get pro-gun bills through than right now. We have to support these efforts that some of these guys are putting together. It's very, very important at a grassroots level. And I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I really want the NRA to be very vocal on this. And, I've done a lot of research and looking around, and through a lot of searches, we haven't even seen the NRA acknowledge the SHUSH Act just yet. Now, it is still new. Maybe they're preparing a press release. Maybe they're analyzing all of the language of the bill to make sure that they're... there's probably a little bit of that going on.
Remember, they're like a big oil tanker. It's kind of hard to turn.
They are. They're slow to turn. But the thing is, I want to see that NRA and all of the people out there that are pro-gun folks like you and I get behind this and push it through. There is no excuse for this to not go through. We can get suppressors off the NFA, guys. It's just a dang accessory. We have to ignore all of these stupid stereotypes that the media and Hollywood and all these hypocrites have put forth about the use of suppressors in this modern society. we live in a society where suppressor use is common, all right? There's no reason for us to not have them. And there's no reason to waste the government's time and resources regulating them for no reason. There's been no proof at all that suppressors are used in any kind of crimes at all.
And there's a lot of stupid arguments as far as, opposing the SHUSH Act and the HPA. One of my favorite being, oh, well, criminals are just going to suppress their guns and they're going to go around and they're going to do it quietly. No, they're not. I mean, why do you think that handguns are used in pretty much 99% of all crime? Because they're easy to conceal. Who's going to stick a big old suppressor on the end of their gun and try to stick it down their pants? Nobody. It's
That's neither here nor there.
It's all Hollywood, just craziness. Anyways.
It's neither here nor there. I mean, we have to support these measures. Anything that restores your rights is important. I mean, and we will always be behind anything that is pro-Second Amendment, pro-freedom, and, for the restoration of rights that have been your rights the entire time and they've just been denied and you've been deprived of those rights, or those rights have been diluted, okay? You've just had a little taste of what it can really be, but we don't really know what it is to live under a completely free existence for the Second Amendment. You should be able to go into a gun shop and buy a suppressor, no problem. It's just a dang muzzle device. You don't have to fill out a form to buy a special brake or any other type of accessory for your AR or AK or anything like that. It shouldn't matter. I think we've proven pretty definitively that all of the arguments against gun ownership and against these types of items, against modern rifles, really any kind of rifle or pistol, shotgun, anything, all of the arguments against it completely null and void and without any type of legitimate claim. It's all based on knee-jerk reactions,
fear,
emotions, and a complete lack of real logic. The real problems behind certain things, what drive things to happen.
I would attribute a lot of it to ignorance, like we talked about before. It's just an ignorance of the facts.
It is. It is ignorance of the facts. And, there are people in the media that have tried to pose reasonable arguments for pro-gun legislation and why we need, certain gun laws to be a little more lax and everything like that. With great freedoms come great responsibilities too. It's on us, all of us, to do our part to honor that freedom. I mean, when you're given a freedom, your actions define that freedom. And by people being responsible gun owners, taking their kids out to shoot, going and buying their suppressors and going about their day and doing their thing, proves and furthers the positive message for the furthering of that right and the expansion of that right. It is a right that we all have, that we're born with. No one gives it to you. You're born with it. And no one can take it from you. And we've allowed people to take this from us over the years, slowly but surely, a slow chipping away that we've always talked about. We have to get behind things like the SHUSH and things like HPA. If we can get HPA, maybe it's a chip on the block that we need to go on and put the nail in the coffin of SHUSH and get it closed up and done. Then we can move on to other things. But we have to take every opportunity we can to push this stuff forward.
I was doing a little bit of reading about the SHUSH Act and HPA and everything, and some folks are kind of the opinion that having two bills in place that are basically the same thing but differ slightly, okay? So the SHUSH might not get through because some Democrats or whatever on the other side of the aisle might fight it because there's no accountability for who actually purchases the suppressor, okay? But then that might lead to the HPA being passed, all right? And
Sure.
One of the other arguments, this is a funny one that I just thought about, but all right, so you got a criminal, all right, okay, he's a felon, whatever the case is, he can't buy a gun anyways. All right, so he can go over the counter when the SHUSH Act passes and buy a suppressor. Well, what's he going to put it on? I mean, give me your money. Give it to me.
There's really no support for registering and having strict gun control and everything like that when criminals are going to get guns either way.
Yep.
Just like they're going to get suppressors either way.
Why do you
There's
think
suppressor. Okay, so if some criminal does want a suppressor, what's to make you think what's going to stop them from getting it now? There's probably places out there that would make a suppressor for an unsavory person, I'm sure for some exuberant amount of money, but there is a black market that will always exist for everything, from machine guns, explosives. I'm pretty sure if you're a cruel bastard with a pocket full of money, you're probably going to be able to get anything you want at any time, regardless of what the laws are. So why take the power away from the good people who obey the laws when obviously they're going to do whatever they want to do regardless? I mean, that whole argument is always there. I mean, and people are going to pose, well, we should have strict gun laws. It doesn't make any sense to deprive your average people that obey the law of their gun rights. I mean, the guy going to a gun store and filling out a 4473 on a gun is not a dude you need to worry about. He's probably nothing to worry about. Even the guy that buys a gun face-to-face at a gun show from a fellow guy, chances are he's not going to buy that gun from some scumbag who looks the part, you know what I mean? He's probably going to buy that gun from somebody that he feels is probably an equal to him.
Well, now you're just generalizing, Eric.
I'm not generalizing. I'm just saying it is what it is. I mean, you know, in the wild, an animal doesn't just put himself in some situation that's going to kill him. No, he assesses the situation, and he only surrounds himself with things that aren't going to kill him.
Did you already talk about the thing that happened at the gun show a while back outside of the show? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You were walking outside of the show, and this guy came up. He's like, "Hey, man, you want to buy some?"
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Real quick. Oh, yeah, okay.
It's totally off subject, but it's kind of on subject, but it's a funny story.
It is kind of funny. I'll talk about it really quick. So I was at a gun show, and I was going to get in my car, and this guy walks up and he's like, "Hey, you want to buy a machine gun?" And I'm like, and just the words that came out of this guy's mouth, I'm thinking, did this guy really just ask me if I want to buy a machine gun? I'm like, all right, so where's the paperwork? Is this transferable? You know, I started asking all the pertinent questions. Oh, no, I ain't got no paperwork for it. It's just some old Japanese gun or whatever. And I opened it up, and it was like it was a Bren. And he's like, oh, it was a parts kit that was built or whatever at some point. He said, it works and everything. And I was like, dude, are you high? Do you think for 1 second that I'm going to buy a machine gun from a guy out of a trunk of his car that has no paperwork or none of that? And I got to thinking, I'm like, I looked at him and I said, you're not fooling anybody, dude. And I was like, you have a good day. And I walked off, and I went to get in my vehicle, and I turned around, and sure enough, there was like 4 sheriff's cars parked like 2 or 3 aisles over. And I guarantee you that dude was ATF. I promise you he was ATF. And he had some guys on standby in case something goofy went down. And they were about 4 aisles over. And sure enough, they were all looking in that direction. I guarantee you that guy was out there trying to nail people.
That's your guy that looks the part.
You want to buy a machine gun? Come on down. You have to have your wits about you guys.
What are you buying?
What are you selling? You know, that's a Resident Evil reference.
Oh,
God.
But
the thing is, you know, that's how it goes. I mean, guys, we have to support the shush. Getting back to the real world.
Get the shush.
Okay, getting out of the fantasy world and back to the real world. You know, it shouldn't even be a thing anyway. You should be able to have the dang machine guns if you want them. You should be able to have suppressors if you want them. It shouldn't matter how long the barrel on your shotgun or your rifle is. None of that crap matters. Well, we all know it. The writing's on the wall.
Well, like you said, like chipping away at your rights, you know, as far as anti-gun stuff goes, well, we got to chip away to get our rights back. So, right. I mean, something like the SHUSH or something like the HPA, okay, if it goes through, whatever the case is.
Well, they didn't take it overnight. You're not going to get them back overnight.
But that leads to things like, okay, well, SBRs and SBSs and crap, barrel length restrictions being eliminated from the NFA. And then maybe one day, who knows? I mean, maybe the Hughes Amendment will be repealed and we can buy new machine guns. I mean, I don't think there'll ever be a day when we can just openly go and buy a machine gun.
Don't say that.
But, I don't know. I don't know.
That's not true. We can get it back. We just have to fight for it. We have to show our will, and our resolve is concrete.
All right, get out the pitchforks.
It is.
Rifles. Come on, let's
get out the pitchforks and get out the figuratively, I guess, or
the torches. Yeah,
get out the torches. Yeah. You know, but the thing is, we have to fight this tooth and nail. And we can do it. We have the government now that we need.
I'm a bit of a pessimist. Sorry.
It's okay, but we're all in this together. Sometimes. And we all have to fight for our rights consistently. Organizations like the NRA, they need to show that they flex their muscles and make these kind of things happen. I know they can do it. I know they're listening. Guys, the NRA is a large lobbying group, and we all have to support them at every turn that we can as well. I support the NRA. I know Chad does. I'm a life member. He's a life member. Tim over at Military Arms Channel, he's a life member. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. I know people probably know that. He's probably mentioned that.
People know, trust me.
Yeah, but the thing is, we have to support these lobbying groups because they support us, and they're good people. We've met with a lot of them. I think it's very important that we support their efforts, and we also demand accountability from them. Well, we support them, but in that support, we also demand accountability.
We do. One thing about the NRA, we've kind of briefly talked about it in previous videos, but recently Pete Brownell was elected to the president's position at the NRA, and there's some changes that are coming down the pipeline. It's hard to take that ship and get it to turn. Okay, it's a huge organization, but there are
a lot of bureaucracy.
There are some really awesome things coming down the pipeline with the NRA and the way that they do things on a lobbying level and just on a grassroots level as well.
Getting things done
in states that feel like they've been neglected by the NRA. And they know that people's opinions about them can't change overnight. It's going to be a thing that they got to work at. It's just like if you're a straight A student and you get an F, and it takes a long time to get you back up.
We can't win them all, guys.
But I never would have considered really being a life member of the NRA previously because I had the same opinions about the organization as a lot of you did. But I felt like I needed to support it as an annual member just because they were a large lobbying group. But I felt compelled to life up, as well as Eric. And Tim did as well.
My wife did as well.
Yep. And Tim was a vocal proponent against a lot of what the NRA was doing previously because they were really dropping the ball in a lot of cases. But for Tim to life up and really be vocal about the NRA now in a positive light really tells me a lot about his relationship with Pete and our relationship with Pete and just the feeling that we have about the organization.
Tim's not a dumb dude.
He's not. I mean, Tim's a smart guy, and it's like this
dumb looking, but
especially that picture. You guys have probably seen that picture.
I have to give him a hard time.
Yeah. But his
no
school
dumber than me,
his school portrait with his AK. But I got a really good feeling about the NRA's future and what they're trying to do and everything, and I hope that a lot more people will get behind them. And just to clear things up, we don't get any kickbacks from the NRA. So, if you see a link in the description box below talking about an article over there and you just happen to join, we don't get anything from that. That goes straight into them.
You do. You get the benefit of it. So in my mind, it's like I lobby for you. I lobby for the people. That's who I serve with this YouTube channel. We serve you. We serve the people. We serve your interests. And
we try anyways.
We try.
Can't please everybody, though.
Exactly. You can't make everybody happy, but in that regard, everything we always put out on this channel will always be for your benefit. We want you to have your rights restored. We want you, Californians that are watching this video, to feel like we're fighting for you, to feel like all of us, that your fight is ours because it is. You're an American. Just because you live in California and it's an anti-gun state doesn't mean you're not an American and that your rights don't matter just like everybody else. So, guys, we are the Grassroots Initiative. We are. You watching this and us, we're just people. We're only two people. But with all of us watching this channel and all the people that we can round up and get in here to make this happen, it ain't nothing but a thing. Mm-hmm. We can do it. It's easy. It shouldn't even be difficult.
It shouldn't be.
So, even if you don't support the NRA, that doesn't matter. You have to support your fellow people out there that want the rights restored. Mm-hmm. You have to turn everyone's fight into yours. If you live in a pro-gun state like we do, still have your ear to the ground and still fight everyone's fight because that poison can grow and spread and affect everybody else. So, if anything, even if you don't do it for them, do it for the fact of keeping that festering sore from spreading. I think that's the big thing. So, that's just part of it.
It is. We were, talking about this gripe a little bit earlier, and one of the gripes that I had with one of the previous videos that we did about the HPA, when we were talking about it and a few other things that were going on and whatever, just kind of an update.
Sure.
Some folks were saying that, okay, you guys are just being paid by the suppressor industry or whatever to say all this stuff. What are we supposed to do? Just believe that y'all do this, blah, 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 out of the goodness of your heart? Well, yeah. I've paid so much money out in NFA tax stamps, I don't even want to think about it.
I don't want to think about it
either. And I bought a bunch of suppressors from Moss. I bought a bunch of suppressors from Quiet Riot. every now and again we'll get something in, and we get a pretty good deal on them. But every can that we have, they were not given to us. I can guarantee you that. But we do this because we want to see these things get pushed through. And I love NFA items. I got on that bandwagon, and although it is a pain in the butt, the process, and oh yeah, you're registering this stuff, and I put on your tinfoil hat. The government knows everything about you now. I mean, I just enjoyed it. It was the next step for me, like I've said before.
I agree.
In firearms collecting and firearms ownership, and to see something like the HPA or the SHUSH Act get put through, and then all these suppressor manufacturers out there just having their doors beat down, for cans, but then also all the other come-ups that you're going to see after the fact, and then people building their own, because
creates jobs.
There won't be any regulation as far as making your own suppressor. You can make it just like you do your 80% lowers or whatever the case is now.
Oh yeah, an 80% suppressor that can just ship to your door or anything.
Anybody with a machine shop or anything like that, or even like the freeze plug kits and stuff you can buy all that stuff and make your own can at home.
Well, here's another vein of the
you had a little bit of a gripe too.
The discussion. Yeah, here's a little bit of a vein of it, is that what Chad is saying is because he's willing to deal with that because of how much he loves suppressors. We read a lot of comments from folks where people are saying, well, man, I just don't have that extra $200. Like, yeah, I can come up with $300 for a 22 can, but I can't come up with the
expensive too.
Extra $200, and I get that. So there is a economical underlying cause from it too. If it makes suppressors more readily available to people that maybe they're too afraid to go through the paperwork, they don't want to mess with it, or it's a little bit intimidating to them, or it's the additional $200 that they can't handle.
Yeah, on top of they already can.
So by making them more accessible to people, you're growing the sport as a whole. You're growing the Second Amendment all that much more, and you might be bringing in people who were on the fence and now they're not because they can have a suppressor without a whole bunch of crap involved in doing it. So there's a lot of underlying reasons why we need to support things like the SHUSH and the HPA.
Well, the price on cans, it's stupid. Yeah, I mean, it really is. But you guys don't even have a clue. Most of you probably don't.
They're so cheap to make.
They are cheap to make. But a while back, before Silencer Co. really came into the ploy, like AAC was top dog. And, when Silencer Co. came in, they lowered the price on all their suppressors across the board. I think this was after they purchased SWR. And then it shook up the suppressor industry. At the time, there weren't really a whole lot of big-name manufacturers. But everyone's prices across the board had to drop to be competitive. Because Silencer Co. just threw a monkey wrench in the works. I love that term. But they threw it in, and it was like, whoa. But I wish that something like that would happen again, because the prices of suppressors sometimes is stupid, but there's a lot of places out there like Silencer Shop, like Capital Armory, like Quiet Riot. There's places that run sales all the time. There's still good deals to be had, like with HPA pricing and deals, things like that, like $200 credits just to kind of give you that tax stamp back. There were even some places doing free tax stamps.
That's right.
And the thing is, like with the HPA and the SHUSH, the tax stamps that right now anyways, that you've put in since, I think, October of 2015 when the original Hearing Protection Act was introduced, you'll basically get a tax credit. It's not going to be like a refund that the ATF is just going to issue out to you like candy. It's going to be a tax credit that you
just
will
apply
file
to your taxes.
Yeah, but some people it might be quite substantial, but then others it's just a nice little bonus.
Sure.
But that's kind of how that's going to go, and then
what I want to see the records go.
Oh well,
and burned up and
one of the provisions.
trash.
Yeah, one of the provisions was 365 days was the time limit that the ATF had to destroy all registration records.
I love the sound of that.
Oh, I love it. I just love to see the big old fire or the big shredder they're going to put all that stuff into.
I don't care
what
they do. I don't care what they do as long as they're gone.
Oh, man. Ooh.
So there's a lot to digest, guys. So look in the description box below for the wording of each of the bills and everything like that, and also some other links that I'm sure Chad will be able to dig up.
Hopefully we'll be able to find somewhere where you can actually just go and click a link and support this thing, but if not, you know where to find the information that you need.
That's right. So guys, thank you for watching today's video. I know this is kind of long and we kind of drug this out on a lot of random tangents here.
There's a lot to talk about.
But we like to talk about this stuff, and sometimes videos like this are a great kind of springboard to just discuss different things. So sometimes a given subject may not merit an entire video, but then we kind of ramble on and then it ends up being a video. So there you go. There's your video. So anyway, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Definitely support SHUSH and everything like that. And guys, you know, we have to fight this fight together. I know you guys can do it. It ain't that hard. It's pretty easy today for us to get together and at a grassroots level and make things happen. We just have to do it.
You got to keep pushing for the SHARE Act now as well, because that's where the HPA is, and we need to get a lot of word out there about that again, because we want to get it back scheduled for a hearing with the committee.
That's right.
To get it put through and
no pun
get a vote
intending.
on. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.